Hey, this is Will Putney from Better Lovers and Fit for an Autopsy, and you're listening to The New Scene.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The New Scene. I am your host, Keith, and we're back with another brand new episode. And on the show this week, we have Doug Sabolick. You know him from his psych rock band, Ecstatic Vision. You know him from A Life Once Lost. Back in the day, he played guitar in that band. He's been collaborating with Tristan Shone of Author and Punisher, writing with the band and playing guitar for them live. And his new band, Plaque Marks, has a brand new album coming out this week called Cumgitsum. So if you're a fan of noise rock with a sense of humor, you'll love it. So we get the lowdown from Doug on the new Plaque Marks album, the evolution of the band over the last few years, what to expect next from Plaque Marks, and all of Doug's bands. It's a great conversation, and that's coming up shortly. But first, here's how you can support The New Scene. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a main channel with full video episodes and a clips channel with clips from select episodes. We have shirts for sale at our store at Deathwish Inc. Pick one up. It's a great way to support the show. And you can follow us on social media at New Scene Pod. Also, don't forget to support Iodine Recordings. There's a new pressing of Everyone Wants Something Beautiful by Love Letter up now. 300 in Survival White, 200 in Spence Purple. Iodine Recordings will be partnering with Samsara Records to bring some of their records back to vinyl for the first time and in represses, so keep an eye out for that. The Beautiful Mistake have West Coast tour dates with Audio Karate. Check their page or the Iodine page for a full list of dates. The Iron Roses have European tour dates kicking off in July. Check their page or the Iodine page for a full list of dates. Head to iodinerecordings.com, sign up for the email list, and you can follow the label on Instagram at Iodine Recordings. And don't forget to support our sponsor for the month of April, Persistent Vision Records. Persistent Vision will be announcing a limited repressing of Page 99's Document Number 8 LP, which were pressed for their European tour. It's a limited edition of 500 copies across 2 variants. Persistent Vision will have a limited amount of copies available on their site, Deathwish Inc., and in stores. And here are 2 new releases to keep an eye out for this month from Persistent Vision. A long-awaited 4th album from Virginia's Pygmy Lush, entitled Totem. This is their first release in more than 10 years. The pre-order will be up April 25th, and the LP will be out in late June. And a new album from the Mexico City-based post-hardcore band Joliet. The LP is called Variable Losses, and it will be available for pre-order April 25th, and that one will be out in late June as well. To check out their web store and for more information, head to persistentvisionrecords.com, and you can follow the label on Instagram at Persistent Vision Records. And now we are going to speak to Doug Sabolick of Plaque Marks. Enjoy. All right, we are here now with Doug Sabolick. Doug, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back.
Yes, Doug. It's great to have you here. Look, there's a lot going on with you these days, even more than before. We have a new album from Plaque Marks called Cumgitsum that's coming out very soon in April. You're now a member of Author and Punisher, playing guitar with Tristan. And of course, we have Ecstatic Vision. There's all kinds of great stuff going on, Doug, and I want to talk about all of that. But first, I want to ask you, how are you doing today?
I'm great. First day of some warm weather in Philly. I just picked up the new Plaque Marks record, PLQ MRX, from Jersey, my buddy's house, and so we were kind of spinning it and enjoying the day.
Nice. Yeah, it was some nice weather today, but today sucked because I had to drive out to Jersey and stand around and listen to people talk for 3 hours straight with no break. But listen, that's the life.
Now you have to listen to me talk.
I'd rather listen to you talk than the other people that I was listening to talk. So it's good to be here now. So you have the new Plaque Marks record. Now, this is where I wanted to start. Okay. So that's it right there. That's it. So show it to us.
Oh, let's see. Well, that's the vinyl. It's like a merge.
That's very nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Is there any singles out right now? Are we going to do the single lead up, all that stuff? Tell us the story. What's going down?
Yeah, we're doing a thing. The first single was released maybe a couple weeks ago, Laugh to Death. And actually tomorrow, even though this will probably come out after, tomorrow they're going to release Lead Poisoning actually with a video.
Nice. So when we last left off, okay, it was the original lineup of Plaque Marks. I think it was the pandemic. I think we were working on a new LP, correct?
There was a new LP in the works, but I think actually even at that point, the band had already imploded.
Really?
Lineup. Yeah, because I remember you asking me something like, is there going to be new stuff? And I said, yeah, there will be.
So what happened? What happened with the original lineup?
I don't know. Just maybe a lack of interest from some people in the band, or I don't know. Like there was some personal beefs amongst members that really didn't include me. I loved playing like looser, dirgier stuff because I really didn't get the chance to do that in my day-to-day like life, So I like the funniness and the goofiness of the band. And I really didn't want to give it up really, So it's just a matter of like, there's only so much time in the world, and it took like 4 years maybe to come up with the new stuff, but it was basically because I was on tour all the time with Tristan and Ecstatic Vision. And until that slowed down, I didn't really have a chance to even really like write any music, even if some of these songs were already written maybe during the pandemic. But this is a short record, but we have another one coming out this year as well. So it's just like, this is the start of us just getting the ball rolling,
Yeah. So wait, you said you have another one coming out this year. Okay, this is what I wanted to ask about. There was some recordings after the initial EP, right? Did any of those original recordings survive? Did you rework them? Like what happened with those?
No, that record's dead in the water because the band imploded before the record came out. That was the Dental Damnation record. It's all good. I mean, I wasn't worried about it. We just wanted to move forward. I mean, we kind of just like didn't want to, we liked the name Plaque Marks, but out of respect, we changed it to PLQ MRX, even though you still say Plaque Marks. I mean, I don't really need to steal anyone's thunder. I got my own fire burning, and Chicken basically wrote a bunch of the album by humming it out to me and like telling me like the vibe, which is crazy. But so it's just a matter of like, hey man, we just want to do it because like it's fun to do. I mean, there's no money playing. For me, there's never really been much money in music. I've always had to have a job where I need to hustle to make money, but I was always able to keep it real, which I appreciate, for my own sleeping at night,
Right. Do you play bass in the band still?
I'm playing guitar on the new record. I liked playing bass. I do like playing bass, but it was just a matter of like, basically two of us wrote the record together and then Vinny would come in and out. But, obviously someone has to come up with the meat and potatoes to start, the vibe and stuff. So, when we were demoing out the new material, I would just jump between instruments until we had something. Chicken would be like, give me some kind of reference. Do this. Okay. Harder, faster, or, and he would go, doop, 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 doop. I'm like, oh, like that. Yeah. So we kind of worked like that. So I would just hop around on the instruments in the basement until we kind of had the, idea. We started loading it up with samples and we pretty much wrote 2 records. I would say it was probably in about 5 weeks of us really like getting down, and that's what we were doing, Like when we were like working on my house, it was like 6 months of us really buckling down and going hard. And then once we stopped doing that, like once I had the time, I said, now's the time. You know what I mean? Like even like right now is a time where I just finished playing the guitars on the Author and Musher album. So it's the new one. So it's time for me right now. If I want to make some new music, it's going to be right now because like I'm not ramping up to play a lot of shows until like summertime. So they're just, there comes times when it's time to go. And that's when we did these ones. And we're actually already like, there's a lot of ideas. We're going to keep pushing forward.
Wow. So 2 records already that we have to look forward to.
Yep. Supply and demand, dude. No demand, but tons of supply.
What does Chicken do in the band? Is he vocalist now?
Well, his name in the band is Cletus Allritis Allritis. We kind of go under aliases with the band because it's not really about anyone personally. It's more about a total vibe, But yeah, he did vocals, and I mean, Chicken's an artist. He's just got a lot of ideas and he's like hyperactive. So he just came up with a lot of stuff and we kind of put it all together.
Yeah. Has he done bands historically? Has he been in other bands?
This is his first band, actually. And he's, I guess he was 62 at that time. So, Vinny is 68, I think. So it's almost like geriatric rock, like part of what I love about music and, getting older and whatever, I still feel quite young and I still haven't made many compromises, that people do when they get older. But I love when old guys like still rock, So for my heart, it was like to see Vinny out there slamming stuff and Chicken doing his thing. I'm like, you know what? That's why I do it, because I like just making stuff,
Right. And it's never too late. I mean, the band I'm in now is the first band that I've done vocals in live and actually really fronted, and that is actually doing something. And I'm 43 now? So I didn't get started doing that until I was 42, 43. It's never too late.
You look 33 though.
I'll take it. No, I've talked to you about this. I don't feel old, especially now that I'm being a little healthier and working out and stuff. Like, I don't feel old, and I don't act my age when I don't have to.
Why not? Enjoy.
Was it weird for you working with Chicken at all in the context of this band, because he hadn't been in bands before? I mean, because you've been in a ton of bands, you know how it works. You play various instruments, all that stuff. Was there like a learning curve? Did you guys have to figure out how to work together? Talk about some of that.
Well, we've worked together. We've known each other for, 15 years. So we know kind of what to expect out of each other, So working together, I mean, whatever, both pretty malleable to a degree. But I guess the learning curves would just be like, if someone hasn't worked on a computer, like in a DAW, like sometimes they just assume things are really quick to move around or experiment. And that can get old because I do not like sitting at a computer. I hate sitting at a computer. So that kind of stuff is like, man, you don't know how long it takes for me to do this stuff. You know what I mean? Like moving samples around. I mean, that's simple, but just making cuts and editing stuff here and there, So, I mean, that was the only thing that was maybe hard about it, But as far as making stuff, it's just like when you find someone that can really bring something to the table as far as ideas. I mean, because he's more based on, the lyrics and like the art and the vibe, where for me, it was mostly always about the music. I mean, when I listen to music, I don't even listen to lyrics at all. And I'm blown away. And I know for sure that lyrics are so important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, some people care so much about the lyrics. And I'm like, I really don't care what you're saying, as long as it's not something that's like bumming people out that are the wrong people to bum out, maybe. You know what I mean?
Right. Punch up, not down.
Yeah. That's why we like to keep, all the Black Mark stuff is silly. We're trying to have a fun time and enjoy life go by, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you do any vocal contributions on this record or the other new one? Do you write any lyrics?
Yeah, I did some stuff on I do a lot of the vocals, yeah. But we kind of just work together and see I've been doing vocals for quite a while. I mean, certain ways I like my voice and certain ways I hate it because it's lower. So it's sometimes hard to make it stick out in a mix when you're working with like a louder band,
Right. Yeah, because Chicken has been performing with you and Black Marks for a while now too. I just remembered he would do the trumpet live with you guys back in the old days. Yeah,
he would show up, in a zoot suit and a bugle, kind of switch over to trombone. That's why I was excited about where it was going, and I I didn't want to let that silliness go away, really.
Yeah, that was a good element to it. The costumes, the monikers, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's missing in a lot of like heavier stuff. People are very serious, and that's them, and I'm not that serious, I guess.
Yeah, I found that recently because we played a couple shows, and I think it's cool when bands do like the super serious thing, and they don't say a word. They just play. And then you're like, wow, they're really serious and cool. So I wanted to do that, but I can't because I like to say some stuff, I like to express gratitude. I like to express appreciation. I like to say random weird stuff. So I can't do it. I can't do the super serious, not say a word thing.
Well, I mean, a lot of those guys, when they get off stage, are total nerds as well. You know what I mean? So maybe it's better they say nothing. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, that's a generalization, but sometimes it's like, yeah, work to your strengths. If you really are like, sometimes it's better just to say nothing and play. I mean, it depends on the vibe of the music as well. If it's a brutal vibe and, it can be nice to see some dark figure that doesn't say much, mysterious, all that.
Right. It just depends. So what's the plan? Do we want to tour a lot? Do we want to tour all over the country? Like, what do you want to do?
Well, right now we have a couple shows, Philly and New York a couple times. Vinny is all over the place because he lives sometimes in Italy, sometimes in Mexico. And then he like swings through New York to see his family. So when I'm always like kind of, we hang out, we chat all the time. So I just try to like make it, hey man, when you're in town, we're going to play some shows and we're starting here. You know what I'm saying? This is where we're at right now. Yeah, some book agent hit us up and he wants to book us some shows and we're going to play some shows. I mean, we're not against it. It's a matter of, when you're in your 40s or 60s or 70s, you got a lot of stuff going on. So it's just about like getting everyone in the same room and making sure people are available,
Right. Did you say Vinny is 68?
I think that is his age right now, not to blow up his scene or whatever. You know what I mean?
That's hard to imagine. Wow, being in a band really does keep you young to some degree, I think.
Well, he's lived a pretty crazy lifestyle as well. I mean, I think he's been vegetarian for 30 or 40 years maybe. So, I mean, he was quick to jump to a pretty healthy thing,
Right. How did you hook up with him for this band?
Well, the original Plaque Marks band toured with Unsane, and I don't know, I just broke down with him. I met him and we just kind of like, I don't know, got along pretty good. He's pretty like wants to have a good time, similar to me. I'm like, I'm in it for a good time, really. I'm not really in it for much else. I enjoy doing it. So I want to enjoy, if I'm on tour, I want to enjoy the people that I'm out with. And like, if you're traveling, I like to enjoy the little things in life. It's like, Author and Punisher with Tristan. It's like, man, when we're in Finland, we're going to the sauna. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we like to enjoy I like to take advantage of the perks of being in a band,
Yeah. Yeah. You don't strike me as someone who gets too bothered by things I would get bothered by, like, do you get nervous before a show? Do you worry about performance or like any of that stuff? Where are you at with it these days?
I like to be prepared. So if the band's not really prepared, that can be stressful to me. Like Plaque Marks, like, Vinny comes into town and we have like a few days of practice and we didn't even have a full band making the album. We all just got in a room and 3 days of practice, and then we played a show. So that to me is stressful, but it's also more open-ended because it's kind of noise music. So as long as you do it with, if you're direct about it, I think it's fine, but Ecstatic Vision, we haven't played a show in a year and a half because it's just like life got in the way of some stuff, so we're going to be doing some shows and yeah, it's always nervous, but like, I wonder if, still got it, but I mean, usually it ends up being pretty quick to fall back into place,
Right. So this lineup of Plaque Marks has played a show.
We did play a show. It was kind of like just an invite only party that we played because we needed to prove that we were actually a legit real band, not just a studio thing, So yeah, so we played the show. It was at Kung Fu Necktie. We just kind of like, we didn't actually even confirm the show until maybe the day before. And then I just sent out some texts to some friends like, hey man, we're going to have a show. And yeah, I was surprised. It went well. So it was nice.
That's awesome. I wish I could have been there. So it was good?
It wasn't great, but it was quite good.
What wasn't great about it? Was it just because it's new or what?
Yeah, we're just like, sometimes we forget, the speed of the song sometimes, you know what I mean? We're working with people on different generational gaps, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. I'm a perfectionist too much. Unless things go perfectly, I'm not happy. But I remind myself a lot, especially with my band now. You just have to embrace where you're at, right? Like we've only played 4 shows. And now we've only played 2 shows with this lineup. So you just have to be where you're at, and who knows how much it will progress or how much it will evolve over the time you're together.
yeah, be humble and try your best, basically. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If you go out and you talk a bunch of stuff, it's like, okay, well, you got to live up to it, and at a certain point in your life, everyone probably, they say, well, I will live up to it, and like, that's great. That's good. I mean, that can be a driving force for some people. But it wasn't like that for this.
Right. Because it just seems like friends creating together, right? Having fun, like you mentioned. So it's not like, oh, we're the best band in the world and we're going to take over the world. It's like, no, we're just doing our thing.
I'm not saying no one's ever said that. You know what I mean? we're getting, tuned up together at 4 a.m, with a giant bonfire and talking about what we want to do. So, I mean, yeah, you might have some grandiose plans, but at the end of the day, like, it's about like togetherness, honestly. Not to be a hippie, but it's like, yeah, we're trying to have a good time together.
Yeah, I've always wanted to live your lifestyle. You just seem to have it going on, especially now. Like your house where it's at. I love the way it's set up. You don't have to work like every single day, multiple jobs like I do. Or no, you probably do between bands and the other stuff you're doing. But I don't know. I just like your setup. I want your setup. How do I get that?
Well, man, that's a pretty deep question. I don't know. I would just say, like, just live very frugally and then try and get ahead, and then use your, if you can pinch some pennies, you might be able to get ahead in certain ways. I don't know.
That's my problem. I spend way too much and I waste a lot of money. But you have a good setup because you've always been good with living frugally, making the bands work, making the bands the priority, right? So I just think the setup you have right now is great with the house and your job and all the bands and everything else. I
was never like compromising, like what happens, what I've seen a lot is, it's just like people compromise, for other people a lot. And my thing was always like, no, I mean, I compromise, obviously. I think like how I'm built is like, I always want to try and compromise, but I never compromise that. It's like, it's like someone is in your life or out of your life. I want you to stop doing this. I'm like, well, you have to go, I suppose, because that's, I would never like force someone out. I just mean like, I have to, even when I'm done something, it gets in my head like, well, what am I going to do next? Because if I'm not doing anything, what am I doing? I don't wake up and say, I want to just sit around all day and enjoy life, but I wish I could do that more, but it's always in the back of my head. Like, how do I get to the next thing I want to do, and the amount of work involved with that is crazy. And I understand why people don't want to do it.
What kind of person are you? Do you have to be doing something at all times? Do you want to be working on something at all times? Like, that's the way I am. I don't care about socializing that much. Like, I'll go to band practice. I want to write songs. I want to release music. I want to go play shows. I'll sit here and work on the podcast. If I have time, I'll make reels and other content. That's what makes me the happiest. That's what I want to be doing. Like, what about you? Do you want to be working on stuff all the time? Are you cool with just sitting and watching a movie or something? Like, how do you operate?
I like to have a good time, but I can't have a great time until I have something that I'm kind of proud of. You know what I mean? Like, there could be like 2 weeks to go by where I'm just sitting there banging my head against the wall, maybe. Like, why can't I come up with something like that makes my blood flow, but then once I do, and I'm happy that I'm like, oh, I've proven to myself that I can still come up with something, like, then I want to have a good time,
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I went through that because we just released our EP, right? And I was like, how did I write those songs? When did I write them? It was a long time, so I don't remember exactly. And then I'm like, wait, can I do that again? Like, can I write songs again? will I? Will they be as good? But then you start doing it and it's like, oh, yeah, right? And then I just went and played 2 shows over the weekend and we played a new one and it seemed that people really liked it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, here's the fun part. This is the fun for me.
That is the fun part, playing it for the people and going out there and getting some type of adventure from your music, you know? I was listening to you guys' new single, was like some Ink and Daggerish kind of vocals on there, I thought.
Yes, that
What
was
did you think? Okay.
that was a major inspiration. I showed the studio engineer like one Ink and Dagger song from the first full length, and then I used a megaphone to try to get that effect on some of the songs.
Were you happy?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
I was proud of you.
I'm very happy with everything, you know, because now I'm doing it. This is what I wanted, but I thought it was done. I thought I was done with music because I don't know, you know, there was just years between bands.
Well, that's the beauty, is you're never done. You can just look at the guys in Black Marks, you know, it's like they're in their 60s, man. They're just trying to start now, some of them, you know, in music, not necessarily art, but yeah, just do whatever your heart desires. And if you enjoy it, you'll do it for a while and maybe some other people will pay attention, you know?
Right.
It can be disheartening, I guess, to be like, sometimes I think about that. Like if all my stuff went away, you know, like I'm really, really lucky that Tristan has like brought me along on his ride. He's been doing Author and Punisher for 20 years. And I'm just lucky to even honestly be involved, you know?
Yeah. How did you hook up with him initially?
Well, Life Once Lost took Author and Punisher on a little tour we were doing, like on the Ecstatic Trance era.
I remember that. Yeah, that's one of my biggest regrets. I was at the show. This was back in 2012. I think it was at the Acheron, and Author and Punisher opened. And I don't know. It was taking Tristan a while to set up, and then I got distracted. I think I was at the bar talking to somebody. I may have been trying to get involved in some nefarious activities. I don't know, but but I missed the set. I missed it, and then you know, he went where he went, and I was like, oh, I could have seen like an early show. What a stupid mistake. But I remember that tour. Or those shows, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was a little tour.
Yeah,
we met then, and then I went on tour as his lighting guy when he was opening for Phil Anselmo's solo band or whatever, the Illegals. And it was just like a fresh time for me. I had a great time. I actually got like booted off the tour, like to a degree, because I was having such a good time that it was just like, you gotta go, man. But,
who told you that you had to go?
I don't know, like numerous people on the tour. It was like some kind of physical altercation, but honestly, it's not something to blow up. It was just so silly, you know, but it was like, you live and learn and you grow from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What happened? What happened? Did they like say, hey, here's a plane ticket later? Like what happened?
Well, it was the last show of the tour, but it was like an early exit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So I still finished my duty, you know, and I thought I did a hell of a job on the lights because I do like doing that, you know, and I liked just kind of helping someone along at that point. And then, you know, look how it comes around. It's really cool.
So when do you get in touch with Tristan again? And when does the guitar playing come into the picture for you and Author and Punisher?
I don't want to like get too deep into his stuff because like that's his thing, you know. I don't want to overstep and be like talking like it's, you know, but you know, it's like Tristan wrote some stuff on the guitar. It's kind of like I do with my bands. I kind of like come up with the meat and potatoes and then like, you do this more than I do. So take what I'm doing and, you know, maybe with a bit more finesse or something like that, you know? So with some of that stuff, and then I was able to come up with a couple things like that were like more ethereal, put my spin on it, I guess, to a degree. I didn't really go into it with any kind of selfish aspirations, really. I'm not trying to put my spin on it. I guess I'm just who I am. So if I try to do my best, it's going to sound maybe like me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not something like, oh, I can hear you. I'm like, well, that's because it's me. But I'm not necessarily, you know, trying to do that.
Yeah. I'll never forget. You just reminded me. I remember when Ecstatic Vision released the first demo for the first song. Astral Plane. Yes. I remember the demo was out and I forget where it was posted, but there was a comment section and they're like, is this Doug? And someone was like, this is Doug. It sounds like his guitar tone. And I was like, oh, cool. Like someone recognizes his guitar tone. I like that. That's the
That is
dream,
cool.
right? That's what I want. I want someone to be like, oh, that's Keith's tone.
I mean, someone was blowing me up because, I'm just right in the mix there, you know what I mean? But that is cool. Yeah.
So when you're working with Tristan, an author and Punisher, how does it work? Does he have stuff already and he says, hey, take this and run with it? Do you write your own stuff and then he'll give you notes? Like, how does it work?
Usually there's a couple different vibes on the album, but some of the heavier guitar, like riffy stuff, he would write it on the guitar and then send me the demo of that and then send me it without the guitars, you know what I mean? And he'd be like, oh, feel free to mess around a little bit. And some of it, I was able to kind of finesse it in a little more. And then some of it was very like, no, this is the part, So that's just how it works in bands from my experience, because I've been that guy, here's the part, and I've worked with some people who take that and they always do things that I love, like the Ecstatic Vision guys always pretty much take my vibe and they go with it. And I'm like, that's why you're in the band, because you're awesome at what you do, But I've also dealt with people that would work against me, and that could be great if you're working on some kind of artistic trip, and you love that person, and you're on some trip together and however it comes out. But on the other hand, it can be just too much effort to find what that sound is amongst these two people when it's like, well, here's a sound that I like that I'm going to go with. And maybe you can take that and then take it where you would want, but keep it in that realm,
Yeah. You have to be moving together, right? You have to be moving towards the same goal. Cause I've been in the situation where you're just butting heads and it's just like, no, this, and that's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Yeah. Or sometimes people want to romanticize oh, they got into a room together and it was some sound that we never heard. I mean, that's great. I mean, why would anyone want to be in a band in 25, right? Why would you want to be in a band? Just be a DJ, dude. You know what I'm saying? Or just be a karaoke artist that plays music on the backing track and you sing over top, because it's you can't make any money. If you want to do something, I mean, you might get lucky, but I'm just saying that's years down the line of people finding out. And there's a lot of rolling the dice involved,
I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm old. Well, no, because I still see young people playing music. There's still nothing like a band. There's still nothing like playing in a band. There's still nothing like seeing in a band. Have you ever gone to see any of the White Rapper Kids or any of that stuff where it's just somebody singing over a track? It's not the same. It's just not the same feeling.
No, it's not. I mean, that's just what is happening in the world of I don't want to be some anti-capitalist, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying how America is set up is if you don't provide the business, you don't get the scribble, So if you don't have the scribble, then people can't draw,
Right.
So I think a lot of it is just hey man, you start with a solo project. If I was a kid now, that's what I would do, but I'm okay, yeah, sure. I'll play this backing track. And what I probably would do is, use a drum machine, because then it's well, what's the difference between a drum machine and me just playing this track of a drum machine? It's all pretty much machines, and then I'd probably just play some guitar and vocals over top, but make it interesting as much as I could. And then maybe all of a sudden you get, some people come to your shows and you meet some people along the way and they're I could add, to what you do. And then maybe eventually there's some enough demand where you could have a couple people,
Right. That's why I always respect people who just get things going. When I talk to them on my show, on the podcast, people who just go out there and do it, I have immense respect for, because I always wanted to, but I was too afraid. I was too afraid to admit to people I wanted to sing in a hardcore band. And I don't know. I just didn't put myself out there. So people didn't even really see me as a musician. So what you're talking about, if people just get out there and do it, yell over a track, add in a drum machine, meet people along the way, that's how you do it.
Got to start somewhere.
Have to.
Yeah. I mean, you could be a teenager and meet the right people as well. And there's no stresses of life, so you could have your time where you're already, a lot of us did that when we were teenagers. We all had our first bands and we some of us got pretty far with, you know what I mean? Because we just worked a lot on it because we didn't have all these like other priorities.
Yeah, you were always on tour. You were like one of the guys always gone, always on tour, like from a young age. You guys were just doing it.
Trying, you know. There was a span of maybe 5 years when I maybe wasn't touring much at all. But that was like life trying to, you know, when you're in your 20s, you think like, oh, this is my one chance. But I realized like none of that really matters, you know.
It doesn't.
Nope.
It doesn't. And it's never too late, like we were talking about.
Yeah, and sometimes it's better to start later because, you know, maybe you have your life more set up. And if you're a baller, you know, you get your life set up around you. So, you know, it can be easier in a way, you know.
That's what I'm doing right now. That's the baller lifestyle, you know.
It is budget baller, man.
No more budget balling. We're serious balling. No, I'm just kidding. It's still budget baller because I live in a very expensive place. But so Author and Punisher, yes, I love the new live configuration. You know, the combination of Tristan and you. And I was just really impressed the first time I saw him because it's not like he's just hitting buttons. I was watching his arm and he's like slamming out the actual drum beat while he's doing vocals and all that other stuff. It's really impressive.
What really impresses me is his vocal prowess. You know, I really I've learned some stuff from him just by watching him operate through like working together, like as far as even making the last album. Like he's very like versatile and able to go between voices. And sometimes if I'm working on something like that, I have to like kind of find my voice and whatever I'm trying to do. And he's able to kind of meld between very like the subtleties of the voice, and it's pretty nice.
I'm very impressed by people who can do that. The different aggressive ranges and then going into something more melodic, but not blowing out your voice and getting through the whole thing. It's impressive.
It's hard too. I mean, when you want to get into that kind of like more nuanced like stuff where you're not pushing as hard, you know, like I don't know if I could do that, but I could work on it. But it was not something that I'm always like, man, I can build it out for like an hour and a half if I have to. And I can go on a 6-week tour and I don't really lose my voice, which is impressive enough. But if you have to do stuff like that, you have to take a little bit better care, you know, and that's not really as much fun. So then it becomes like, well, I got to go on tour and then I got to take better care. It's like, it's a catch-22.
So what do you do? Do you do anything to save your voice on a tour? Because you mentioned you like to have fun, you like to have a good time. But I know you, and I know you're not the guy like in the van wearing a scarf, like not talking or secluding yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the guy that's sewing the T-shirts after we play, so I'm talking to people regardless, you know. I guess it's only like, you know, sometimes you play a club and there's people smoking cigarettes right in front of you. That, if you're like if you're not feeling so hot, that can be pretty hard, you know. That's what I've dealt with. I mean, as far as like putting me into a position where I lose my voice, or maybe the like the monitors aren't loud enough and you're really feeling the vibe, so you just like go hard, you know.
Right. Do you do anything? Do you do warm-ups? Do you save your voice at all? Do you do any of that stuff?
I really don't. I wanted to trash my voice because I thought it would just be more interesting sounding, you know. I just think that, you know, the more your voice is, I don't want to say your vocal cords damaged, but I would just say like the softer the leather in your voice, maybe it could be nice, you know, like Rod Stewart or something.
I like that. So you're working on new music with Author and Punisher. So we know that's coming, but I haven't seen an official release date or album announcement or anything like that. So that's probably not out there yet, right?
No, and I'd rather that be that thing, you know what I mean? Their stuff, because I wouldn't be like out there blowing shit up for him, you know?
Exactly. We can't leak any information. So Tristan, if you hear this, come back on the show when the new album's coming out. How about that?
I liked how you put him on the front of the Tool interview you did. And I'm like, oh, that was a little bit of a hook up there. Thank you, buddy.
Of course. I like to do tie-ins like that, you know? It's funny. I wanted to ask Justin about Tristan and Author and Punisher, and he ended up bringing it up first. He mentioned them first, and I was like, oh yeah, I just had Tristan on the show. That was cool.
I know they've played shows together.
Yeah.
It's funny because everything comes full circle. It's like Vinny played in Swans back in the day, you know? So I was never a huge Swans fan because I just maybe never paid that much attention to early 80s stuff. But then I started digging in. I'm like, oh, you know, maybe it's not the albums Vinny's on, but this album Cop, like I like that album a lot. I like the vibe of the sound, you know? And I Googled it, the album, and it was like the guy, is it Justin from Godflesh was mentioning that album. And then I was listening through, I'm like, oh, I totally hear where he got that weird like vocal scream he does, you know, from Michael from Swans. And then I sent him the album. He's like, oh, I really think this album's great. I'm like, that's so cool how everything kind of works together, you know, in some kind of weird backwards way.
It really does. And between the podcast and now playing music, it's a small world. It's a small world. You bump into each other. People circle back around. You end up collaborating with people you don't realize. I love it. I think it's the best.
The roller coaster of life.
Every day. Ecstatic Vision.
New tour dates coming up soon, actually.
Yes?
Yeah.
Is there going to be something in New York City?
No. It's actually more Canadian stuff because we got some like little bubble of activity up there. We might do some stuff maybe in New York and maybe in the fall if I can fit in a little time between the Author and Punisher touring stuff. But yeah, like right now it's like, man, I got the Black Marks new album, I got Author and Punisher, and those guys still want to do some shows right now, so we are staying active.
Okay. I was hoping you would be playing again soon because Ecstatic Vision is definitely one of my favorite live bands to see. It's just always so much fun. And the songs get stuck in my head, and then I end up going back and listening to the records, and I'm just like in a great mood afterwards every time.
Thank you. That's great.
Yes.
It's always great to see you.
Yeah, dude. It's just fun. So you have to play here. You just have to do it. Or Philly. I would come down for it.
Well, New York took a lot longer to catch on, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but...
Because Philly, everyone here is an asshole.
I don't know. They like heavier stuff there. I think we maybe were a little bit too... Like, you got the cool guy, New Yorker, rocker, that are usually like... I don't want to, you know... Usually clowns or whatever. They usually look really cool, but they can't really, like, bring the pain with the music. Or, yeah. You know?
There's a lot of that here.
It's a lot of just like, you know, billboarding around or whatever. And we don't really do that with Ecstatic Vision. We just try and play the show and kill it, you know? So maybe that's why it was slower, you know? But Philly, I mean, all the miscreants and mutants come out and we party. It's great.
I love it. I was thinking about you earlier today. Was it difficult for you to make the transition from guitarist in A Life Once Lost to then vocalist and guitarist in Ecstatic Vision? Because, like, all right, I was thinking about it in terms of me. I really wanted to front a band. I felt like I could be a creative driving force. I wanted to sing. I wanted to get my vision out there, right? Like I wanted to do that, but I was always too afraid, and there just wasn't an opportunity, and it took a really long time, but eventually I got there. So, like, you're playing guitar in A Life Once Lost, Ecstatic Trance comes out, you know, band falls apart. Did you think, okay, now I am going to be the vocalist, guitarist in a new band, or were you doing something else, or like what happened?
I was already working on the Ecstatic Vision stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, like, some of the songs were already kind of in the works. Maybe a little bit different, but it was like the Ecstatic Trance album really didn't get much love, you know? Like, when I listen back now, I'm like, yeah, there's aspects of the album that maybe I could maybe embellish more, but I still think it's very interesting industrial metal album. Maybe it just was not the right time for like in the whole scheme of things, you know, it just wasn't maybe the right time. So, but yeah, I was already working on it because I don't know. I was just sick of the super heavy guitars and screaming. And I mean, I'm not like some old grandpa that's like, I'm sick of that. But I was just like, I wanted to do something else. You know, I was in the band since I was like 16. So that was the time when I was like getting my stuff together, trying to do it. You know, I actually tried to like talk Tristan into letting me join Author and Punisher. And that was in 2012, I think. But I think throughout the years, he had so many people try and join the band that he's probably just like, nah, I'm good on my own, you know? But it's funny that, 10 years later, I ended up like playing with Author and Punisher. So that's pretty cool.
That is awesome. So when you get Ecstatic Vision started, what happens? Do you just write songs? Do you practice vocals at all? Do you practice how you're going to find your voice? Like, what did you do?
The first album was definitely like a lot of that, like sitting in the basement. Like I did a lot of layering, and because I was never singing for a band. I don't want to say I'm a singer, you know what I mean? But I'm just like, I never did that, So it was a lot of like mantra-esque kind of things. And it's like, I don't want to say it's out of necessity, but you kind of work to your strengths. And at that point, it's like, okay, I could do these more mantra-esque things and layer them a lot. And it sounds pretty good, And as time passed, it was like, no, I want to be like maybe more funky with my vocals, or you get a little better like control. And then you're like, I don't even want to double my stuff because you kind of lose a lot of the nuances, So that's kind of how that worked out. And it's always changing. I mean, if you're doing something heavier, like the Black Marks record, I did some doubles and some harmonies on there that worked out. So every project might call for something different, but Ecstatic Vision, how it ended up was like, we want to play live and we want it to sound pretty good, So once you start doing all these layering and stuff, it's like, yeah, great, but you can't replicate it. Or maybe you can, but I'm just not smart enough to, you know what I mean?
All the elements just work perfectly. I mean, the rhythm section is nuts, so that's awesome. And then Kevin with the flute and everything, and switching off with guitar, it's just live. I just love it.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. I love doing it.
And still the funniest thing I've ever seen when you played up here. What was that venue? I can't, Mercury Lounge or I don't know. It was, you played here and you were opening for somebody. I can't remember who, but the song started and people were still coming in it. So you walked down as the band is playing, you walked down to the merch booth, like the merch table, and you were flipping through records while you were holding the microphone.
That's a little glimpse of chaos, that we try to go even harder with Black Marks stuff is like, yeah, we try to create chaos, basically.
That's the way to be.
You got to be entertained. Otherwise, I mean, you're looking at, the gas station attendants up there. Like, that's great, but.
Exactly. So is Ecstatic Vision working on anything new? What's the status there?
Not really. No, not right at the moment. I mean, we're kind of like play some shows and kind of talk a bit and see where everyone's at as far as. It's a lot of work making records. It's gotten easier with those guys because we've jammed a lot. But for me, it's like, if I'm going to put a lot of work into a record, I want to have a good time off the record. As like I said, I am in it for the adventure of that. That's my main driving force, other than just personal, you want to sleep at night being proud of, I don't know, you want to be proud of yourself, but you want to, you know what I mean? You want to feel like you're doing something,
Exactly.
So I don't necessarily want to work so hard making some type of like piece that we don't go out and play too much on. So if we can figure out like that kind of stuff on how much we're going to play, then yeah, there will be a new record, but it's just a matter of like communication.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's like, okay, if we're going to write a record, we want to really love this and we're going to go out and play it a lot. Like if you get together and everyone's kind of not into it, or maybe we don't 100% feel what we're doing, then you don't want to do it.
I don't think it's about the quality of the material. I think it's about the availability of timing. People have to have the availability to go out and play shows. You know what I mean? And considering that our main audience is in Europe, I mean, Ecstatic Vision, we tour Europe. We don't even really do too much in the US because it just never really caught on. If it did, we would. But we are kind of changing it around a little bit, and we're doing some more stuff here just because the availability, like windows are smaller. So we're trying to do the best we can to kind of maintain right now. But I wouldn't necessarily like be stoked to make a record to go and play a week of shows. I mean, that's just not worth it to me,
Yeah. How do you feel about it that it mostly catching on in Europe? Do you like that? Do you not like that? Would you prefer more people liked it here? What are your thoughts on it?
I love it. Because I mean, the amount of like culture and like adventure is is amazing. And I mean, touring Europe is the cream of the crop. I mean, you know, you got a bed to sleep in every night. You got a lot of like food and drinks, and you get to see stuff that you'd never see, and you get to meet people, and you get to do things that you'd never do normally, you know, like be in these towns that no one would ever really go to because it's not necessarily like the tourist places that have the amazing whatever you're looking for. But I loved it. You know, in a way it's hard though, because it's like, yeah, man, you got to get it on a plane and it costs like thousands of dollars just to get started. And then you got to rent a van, and then you got to, you know, it's a riskier endeavor, but yeah, I'm happy it worked out that way.
That's good. Yeah, that seems like the move. I was talking to a friend's band. They signed with a particular label just because they wanted to go tour Europe more. It sounds like a good experience.
The best one.
You said you have a bed to sleep in every night. What's the deal? Are people friendlier? Can you afford hotels better? Are bands provided for more? I just hear there's a lot more for support for bands. Like, what does it look like for you?
Usually, like even from the beginning, like we had scored a great agent that really cared about us from the beginning. I mean, it seems like he's doing quite good right now as far as booking a wide variety of bands. But he always had a cool roster, and it was just like, hey, part of the deal is accommodation, so this is where you're sleeping. And I mean, for us, I mean, we did the first tour we ever did was basically opening for Yob and Enslaved, which is crazy because the first two tours we ever did were the biggest tours we ever did. And then we had to basically start from scratch again as far as like building an audience on our own. But which definitely like helps out because like those are your fans, man. You're not just playing in front of all these people because you're the flavor of the month. You know what I mean? You have to like rely on your own like history to make it happen. But yeah, so with that first tour we did, it was like we slept in the van every single night of the tour, you know, because it was just like long drives following a bus. And it was like, you know, I would drive after the show on that tour because that was for some reason what I was doing. And I would sleep right in the driver's seat. You know what I mean? So it was nice to go there and be like, oh, here's your accommodation. So no matter what, you know, you have a bed to sleep in. And it's like, yeah, man, I'm trying to play a show. Trying to have some energy to put on a show to a degree and feel good, you know? I guess in America, it's like, well, if you can't pay for that, well, then why do you expect it? You know, that's a different mindset. Whereas maybe they're more like, this guy's an artist and we're going to try our best to make him comfortable to put on the best show possible because we want to enjoy what he's doing. Not see a half-assed version of it, you know?
Yeah, imagine that mindset existing here. That would be great. Because here it's just like, oh, yeah, if you can't afford it, fuck you.
Yeah. I mean, I work in a club. I know the deal, man. It's like, it's crazy. I'm not for or against because I make my money off of the nightlife industry. You know what I mean? I'm working DJ parties all the time, you know? So it's like the reason I'm able to go out and do my thing is because I save my money from that and I go do the other thing and spend my money. So I guess there's that. You could do that.
So, has anyone spoken to you anytime recently about an A Life Once Lost reunion?
Actually, yes, they have been hitting me up. Like Bob Carpenter did hit me up, the guitar player.
How long ago?
What are you pushing this through or whatever?
No, I'm not. I did my thing with This Day Forward and championing that whole reunion. I will not be doing that for any other bands. I'm asking out of sheer curiosity.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. Yeah. Bob did hit me up, and you know, I guess that would be the right guy to hit me up to a degree because you know, he was the machine guitar player of the band. And it's like, you know, I have my artistic vision, but he was also a very like key aspect. You know what I mean? And when we lost him, that was the only time I ever like, you know, had a little bead of sweat on my brow. You know, like, oh shit, how are we gonna move on from that? But you know, at certain points, I'd say I would never do that. And the other points, I'm like, why do I take myself so seriously?
Right.
You know, who am I to like worry about that? I am one that doesn't look into the past and I don't care about nostalgia. And I mean, my own personal nostalgia. And I don't care about reliving some former glory. That doesn't really make me excited. But also taking yourself so seriously, I think that can be a little pretentious or something maybe.
Yeah, so you sound conflicted, like maybe. I think the best policy is never say never, right?
Yeah, well, everyone has their own kind of like motivations, So I guess there was some type of motivation because like maybe Rich Hall, he passed away. It's like he booked us some shows in New York, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe we'll do some kind of benefit, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like I haven't even talked to these guys in forever. So I don't know. It's just a matter of it working out,
Yeah. Do you have any connection to that type of music still? Like, do you ever throw on an old band or hear a new band like that you like?
Not really, no. I just don't. I moved on. I like I said, I'm not much of a nostalgia person, so I don't really put on old records and be like, oh, I remember this. It makes me feel like this. Like I'm looking for something new to kind of make me inspired, And I'm not looking down upon or anything like that. I'm just saying that's just me.
When did it shift for you? I'm curious. Like, was there a particular band or moment or something you saw where you just went in a different musical trajectory? I've had a lot over the years, like, the late 90s emo I got really into. Post rock was like huge for me when I discovered that. I listen to a lot of lo-fi stuff now, ambient stuff that I discovered, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. Like, when did you go in a different direction?
Maybe when I was about 25, I think. I was like, I loved metal. I still do like metal more than most things, but it was like, A Life Once Lost was like brutal. It was about adrenaline and, it's some type of feeling. And then once you get to a certain point, it was like, you're touring with all these bands that basically work out all day and wear makeup. It's like, that's not my trip. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because like, okay, well, I say that, but I'm like, I'm in a band that dresses up like clowns or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hear you. It's a little bit different, but I'm not on that. I was more about the music, even though maybe when I listen back, I'm like, it was fine. I'm not putting it down. I think it's fine.
Yeah. What is your thing? Like, I've heard you listen to a lot of stuff. You've showed me some interesting, like, African rock music and different things. There was one song that Ecstatic Vision covered, Troublemaker. That song?
Yeah. I know that song, yes.
Who is it again?
Like Ngozi Family. Yeah. Troublemaker.
That is a jam. That is a jam. What is your thing? Do you have a particular thing? Do you have a particular era you like?
I have a lot of particular eras I like, I think 1970 through 1972 is probably my favorite era of music in general. If you look at a record, say it's a rock record, a funk record, disco wasn't really around, but you get some disco-y funk records. Usually the production style is something that I like really liked, But yeah, it's like, you run to the end, you go down such an obscure path. I'm like, sure, this is obscure and cool, but I mean, I want something else, and then you move along and it was like, trying to think. There was a time when I'm like, okay, let me hear some 80s stuff that I like, and the 80s had a lot of different things that were cool. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the really popular stuff, but I put together a Nigerian disco 80s playlist or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I sent around some friends, and I'm like, sometimes I go into bars, I'm like, I hear them playing my playlist. I'm like, that's awesome,
Yeah, you seem like a music connoisseur. Like, I could come to you and get some like real deep dive stuff that nobody really knows about, and that in itself is a skill, and it's like a connoisseur of good taste. I
mean, I wouldn't take total credit. There's plenty of people around me that have much more deeper dives in a lot of different things, but you just try and take what you like. I don't know. You have your own personal taste and you roll with it, You don't have to, like, maybe there was a certain point where, like, I want to impress people by how much or whatever. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I don't really need to impress anyone. I'm happy just being in my own little shell, So
we've got the new Plaque Marks album coming out. Cumgitsum. It's out in April. Is there an official release date?
Wait, where are we at here?
There you are. Look at that. For our YouTube viewers, you have to watch the show on YouTube because you can see us talking and you can see the album right there.
That's coming out April 25th.
Oh, by the way, I saw it's a joint effort between Reptilian Records, Fuzzed and Buzzed, And I saw Totem Cat Records mentioned too. What's the deal? Are we on 3 labels?
Well, actually, there's 4 labels on the back because the 4th label is our own label, and that's Clowns Ruin Records, clownsruin.com. Yeah, so basically, it's kind of like I've had a problem with Ecstatic Vision where you work with a European label, and it was like all the fans in America. I'm like, I'm not paying $30 for a record plus shipping or whatever. It's just like that's too much money. I'm like, I hear you. So it's always a matter of like figuring out how you can get these labels to work together so that no one has to pay a lot for shipping, basically is what we did. So we kind of, worked it out so that if you're in Canada, you can get a record from Fuzzed and Buzz Records and you don't have to pay their national cost. If you're in US, order from Reptilian Records. If you're in Europe, order from Totem Cat Records, That's kind of how it worked out.
So we've got that record coming out. It sounds like we've got more from Author and Punisher, and Ecstatic Vision definitely shows maybe music at some point.
Yes, I am currently working on some rock-based music right now, and I don't know, like I'm not trying to blow up my situation or whatever of what's going to happen. So I am working on some of that kind of sounding stuff as well, but we're going to see how it shakes out.
Something new, or are we saying that could be something for Ecstatic Vision?
Well, it could be kind of like a collaboration album between some bands. Yeah, I'm just trying to get the meat and potatoes going because I have a little bit of time right now. So that's what I'm doing currently, Oh,
and of course, the Life Once Lost flames, always burning, right? It could happen at some point. There discussions come and go. You never know.
That's true.
Do you remember any of those songs? Like, would it be like a pain to sit down and remember those?
I don't think it would be much work for me to remember them because I just got done with the Author and Punisher album, and there's a lot of really chuggy stuff. So it won't be an issue for me if I had to do that. I think it would be pretty easy.
Well, Doug, thank you for coming on the show. I've known you a long time. I've lived with you. We've lived together. We've hung out. You're a good friend. You're one of the few people that I feel like I can talk about anything to. And, you're one of the few people that I'll stay out till 1 a.m. with. I don't really do that here, but when I come down to Philly, it's like a different energy, Like I usually come down for a show, and then I like coming to see you at Kung Fu Necktie and staying out late like the old times. So, hey, always a pleasure, and thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's always great to see you when you're down there.